smash the lamp.
Hey guys, Dean Chase here with another geometry lesson for you. Let's just go ahead and get started with a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for this day, goodness, Lord. Thank you for blessing us with the opportunity to learn. I pray that you'll bless my students, my people with knowledge, and just help me do the best of my ability to educate them. We love you. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Alright guys, welcome back to another geometry lesson. So today we're going to learn how to measure and classify angles. This is lesson 1.4 if you're studying out of the same book I'm teaching out of, page 24. So let's just go ahead and get started. An angle consists of two different rays with the same endpoints. The rays are the sides of the angle. The endpoint is the vertex of the angle. The angle with sides AB, ray AB and ray AC can be named angle BAC, CAB, or angle A. If you're using the three letters, you need to make sure the center letter is going to be the vertex of that angle. Also, you got to be very careful using individual letters, which I'll talk about on the next slide. Point A is the vertex of the angle. Okay? Anyways, let's just keep going. So example 1, name 3 angles in this diagram. And this is why you can't just name it always just a singular angle. With the last example here, oops, sorry guys. With this example here, you could name it a single letter because there's only one angle shown. But in our example, there's actually 3 angles here. So if you would call this angle N, well, how do we know you're not talking about this angle or this angle, you know? So you really need to use the 3 letters if there's more than one angle present. So name all 3 angles. The first angle we're going to name is going to be angle MNO. Okay? I'll go ahead and highlight the inside of that in red for you. The next one, we'll do the blue one. I'll put some blue. Angle ONP. And then lastly, we have our big outside angle, which we could just call angle MNP. Angle MNP. Pretty simple naming angles, nothing to stress about. Yeah, let's just keep going. So now we're going to learn how to measure angles using a protractor. A protractor can be used to approximate the measure of an angle. An angle is measured in the units called degrees. Okay? So here you have the protractor postulate. Consider a line OB and a point A on the side of line OB. The ray of the form OA can be matched with one of the real numbers from 0 to 180. Okay? The measure of angle AOB is equal to the absolute value of the difference between the real numbers for OA and OB. Okay? So OB crosses at 180 if you're looking at the outside numbers. And then AO crosses at 40. So 180 minus 40 would be 140 degrees. Okay? Or most protractors, if you're actually using real life protractor on paper, you have multiple numbers. Okay? We're going to learn how to classify angles in a second. But this is obtuse, so we're going to know that's over over 90 degrees. So obviously it couldn't be 40, so we're going to look at the 140 where it's crossing, which was the difference we came out in. Try not to dwell on that too much. I feel like I may have just confused you. So we'll keep carrying on, and in our example I'll explain that a little better. Classifying angles. Angles can be classified as acute, right, obtuse, and straight, as shown below. An acute angle measures from 0 to less than 90 degrees. Cannot be 90 degrees. It has to be more than 0 and less than 90. Acute. Like tiny little cute things, you know? Acute. Right angles. Right angles only can have one measure, and that is going to be 90 degrees. So if your angle measures 90 degrees, right angle. Obtuse angles measure from 90 degrees to less than 180 degrees. So anything above 90, anything less than 180. So 90.1 to 179.9, obtuse angle, okay? And then you have a straight angle, which only can equal 180 degrees, a flat line. Okay, so use a diagram to find the measure of each angle and classify the angle. So we're going to do this a couple of different ways. The first one we're going to be looking at is DEC. So I'm going to go ahead and label it DEC. Sorry, wow, that line got crazy. Okay, DEC. So we have 180 where this line goes, and then is lying on 90 here. So we're going to do 180 minus 90 and the absolute value of that, because we could have done 90 minus 180, absolute value came out to the same thing. And it's going to be 90 degrees, okay? And that is going to be a right angle, okay? Next we have DEA. DEA, which is going to go straight across here. What kind of line is that? A straight line, which we know is going to have 180 degrees, which is a straight line. Second to last, CEB. CEB. So we have, I'm going to do it reverse. We have absolute value of 70 minus 90. Okay, and that's going to be a negative 20. And the absolute value of negative 20 is 20 degrees, which is going to be acute angle. Okay, sorry, I should have done that in blue. Then our last angle, DEB. Let's do this in green. DEB. So it's going to be 180, absolute value of 180 minus 70, which equals 110 degrees, which is obtuse angle. Okay? I hope that example made sense. Once again, I really enjoy this stuff. It's pretty simple. I hope you guys are enjoying it too. So, postulate 4. Write this down in your notebook. Okay? The angle addition postulate. In words, if P is the interior of angle RST, then the measure of angle RST is equal to the sum of the measure of RSP plus PST. So these two angles add together equal the whole big angle. That kind of makes sense if you're just looking at it. Here's the symbols for it. Angle RST equals the measure of angle RSP plus the measure of angle PST. Yeah. Example 3. If the measure of angle XYZ is 72, XYZ totally equals 72, find the measure of angle XYW and the measure of WYZ. So to start this, we need to look at the fact that we don't know any of the variables. None of them are given to us. So we need to solve for the variable X. And to do that, we can actually set up our equation. So let's go ahead and set up the measure of angle XYZ, and we're going to use the postulate we just learned, equals the measure of XYW plus ZYW. Measure of angle ZYW. Okay, so let's go ahead and plug in our information. XYZ equals 72 degrees, okay? And that's going to equal 3x plus 6 plus 2x minus 9. Okay? And now we just need to solve this. So we're going to start out by combining our like terms. We have x values and we have our whole numbers, okay? So we're going to put 72 equals 3x plus 2x is going to give us 5x plus, not plus, sorry, I'm jumping to conclusions. 6 minus 9, or 6 plus minus 9 is going to give you negative 3. So now we're going to add 3 to each side to continue solving this. We're going to come out with 75 equals 5x, and divide each side by 5x x equals 15. Okay? Now, we're not done. We know our x value, which means we could take it and plug it back into our original equations. So we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to draw a line around this to block off all this work. We're going to do the measure of angle XYW equals XYW is right here. So we're going to take this and sub in our x value. 3 times 15 plus 6. Okay? Order of operations is important, so let's go ahead and do our multiplication first. The measure of angle XYW equals 45 plus 6. The measure of angle XYW equals 51 degrees. Okay? We might be able to squeeze this next one in underneath this. Okay? Answer. So now we need ZYW. The measure of angle ZYW equals 2 times 15 plus 9. The measure of angle ZYW equals 30 plus 9. Measure of angle ZYW equals 39 degrees. Ah, humbug. Nobody called me out on it. I can't believe you. It's not plus 9. It's going to be minus 9. Hey, we could start from here. Let me just... minus 9. So we have 30 minus 9. So the measure of angle ZYW equals 21. That's an awkward thing about not doing this in class. I was just testing you and none of you called me out on it, but obviously you're not here to do that. So let's just keep going. Congruent angles. Two angles are congruent angles if they have the same measure. In the diagram below, you can say that the measure of angle A is equal to the measure of angle B, or you can say that angle A is congruent to angle B. Okay? Right there. Words, symbols. Okay. So the figure shows angles formed by the legs of an ironing board. Identify the congruent angles. So let's go ahead and identify the congruent angles first. When you want to label two angles congruent, you just use little angle markers like this. And if they have the same number of angle markers on the angle, that means they're congruent. So angle KJG and angle HGJ are congruent because they have these markers, okay? Let's just go ahead and take the time and write that. We're going to do KJG, angle KJG is congruent to angle HGJ. And then we also have angle GHK. GHK is congruent to angle HKJ. Like I said, these have 2, so they're going to be congruent to each other. These have 1, so they're going to be congruent to each other. Now it says HGI, this angle right here, is 40 degrees. So what is the measure of GJK? GJK. Well, those two angles are going to be congruent, so the measure of angle GJK is going to equal 40 degrees also. Okay? Hope that made sense. Let's just keep going. I think it said I had 5% battery life left, so let's get this done. An angle bisector is a ray that divides an angle into two angles that are congruent. So, just to put a picture to words, you have this angle here, and if you have this line cutting it straight down the middle to where this line and this angle and this angle are congruent, that makes this an angle bisector. Remember, the hash marks mean congruent. So, in the diagram, MN bisects PMQ. And the measure of PMQ is 122 degrees. So they want us to find the measure of PMN. So just this little section right here. This is what they want us to find, this angle measure. Well, to do that's pretty darn simple because we're lucky enough to know that this is the angle bisector, meaning it cuts this whole angle perfectly in half. So if we take 122 and divide it by 2, that's going to give us our answer. So the measure of angle PMN equals 61 degrees. I hope that made sense. Today's lesson I feel like was a fun one. I love this type of geometry. It's pretty simple. I hope it all made sense. Hope you guys are all doing good. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments. Email me if you're my student, or hit me up on Jupiter. Anyways, guys, good seeing ya. Hope you're all doing good. Have fun. Get your homework done. See ya.